Hello, Iris J here with Madrona's Pulse Teachings, Astrology for Healing, and I am here on a gorgeous Sunday morning in British Columbia on Cortez Island. I woke up with the sun and I thought I would try and come outside and record this since we are talking about Taurus energy, because I want to chat with you about Jupiter entering Taurus. This is going to be a year transit, so Jupiter moves through a sign usually for about a year, and we have this happening on May 16th. I wanted to get this video out before the new moon, which is happening on the 19th, because the energy of Jupiter entering Taurus is part of what we are working with in that new moon. And there's another video that's absolutely about the new moon. That link is below. I really am just going to talk about the energies of Jupiter and Taurus, because these are energies that we are working with for an entire year. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, all of that jazz, and let's get chatting. So I'm going to talk generally about the energies of Jupiter in Taurus for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go through the houses. So this video is intended to kind of support you where you have Jupiter and you want to look at your chart where you have 0 degrees of Taurus. That's the house that Jupiter is entering. House systems vary, so it's very possible that you could have Jupiter moving through 2 houses. So you want to see if that is the case for you, and then I definitely suggest listening to both houses. You're going to be dealing with the first house of energies for the first while, but then you want to listen to both houses. Okay, so Jupiter, our planet of expansion, our planet of abundance, our planet of wisdom, is moving through Taurus. Car going by. The challenges of filming outside. Is moving through Taurus, which is our second sign of the zodiac. Earth energy. Taurus is earth wisdom. It's part of why I wanted to be outside in nature filming this video. Taurus is our senses. It is the earth body sensuality. It is understanding and making meaning through the body. It is a sign that is all about embodiment and the consciousness that our body opens us up to, which is also an earth consciousness. This is really important because this is some of the foundation of Taurus energy. Taurus also represents the foundations that we build our life upon. It is the Aries spirit, the Aries fire, moving into the next stage, which is yearning for material form. So it's like in Aries, we get this burst of energy, we get this intuition, these impulses. It's the literal spirit, the birthing spirit. And then that spirit needs to take form so that it can start accomplishing things, so that it can start building things. Taurus is the energy where we're in form, earth sign, and we're creating the foundations that we're going to build our life on, okay? That the soul is going to first formalize so that it can then move on and do all the other things that happen with all the other signs. And in that respect, Taurus is absolutely our values. This is what the core of Taurus is. First, that embodied earth energy, that embodied earth consciousness, the way the body speaks of our belonging. Taurus is also our belonging to our ecosystems. And then it is the way that we have values based on that earth consciousness that extend out into how we want to build our life. Okay, that's the core of Taurus. What are some of those resources and values? Yeah, for sure, it's money, right? We need money to build our life. We need money to create a house. We need money as one of the resources that we use to build the foundations of our life. But the core of the Taurus archetype is about embodiment. And in that respect, it's also about our own self-sufficiency. The self-sufficiency that comes from being in this body, kind of channeling that earth consciousness, because the body speaks. It speaks in its own way. This is for anyone that goes into kind of somatic healing. This is part of learning how the body speaks. And those then want to extend into the values, and our body holds lots of stories and histories. And so all of our values are going to be different. They're going to come from the ecosystems that we're part of, that our ancestors are part of. They're going to come from the intergenerational stories and traumas and histories that get passed into us that we then embody. There's so much that goes on in the body, and this is part of Taurus energy, especially as it's related to our ecosystems. And then, just like that, it's also the resources of those ecosystems and how we use them and the values that we use them with. Okay, this is the core of Taurus energy. So a lot of times Taurus just gets talked about in terms of money. It's part of it. We need money. It's an essential resource. But when we skip to money and we bypass all of the earth consciousness and all of the richness and the senses and the way of being in the body that then extends out into, yes, how are we going to use our money? How are we going to create income? How are we going to use that as a foundation so that we can embody our values, okay? And from this perspective, we see right away in Taurus that money is really just a tool through which we can embody our values for what our soul is here to do in this life. Okay, so there's Taurus energy. And now we have Jupiter, this planet of abundance, this planet of wealth, this planet of wisdom, moving from Aries, where it's been journeying. Jupiter in Aries was really expanding a sense of self, that fire I was talking about, expanding this this creative self in our impulses in a new cycle. When Jupiter came into Aries, it was a new cycle. Jupiter was just going through Aries as we had the Aries eclipse there. We've been working pretty intensely with Aries energy leading up to this shift to Jupiter. So we've really been going through a birthing of that Aries sacred self. And now that self wants to materialize. Welcome, Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter entering Taurus is going to help us take form to the new part of ourself. It's exciting because in Aries, it's so much energy, it's so much fire, and we slow down. We come into a more receptive yin energy of Taurus. We come into, how do I take on the forms? And Jupiter's going to come through, and it's going to help us do that with opportunity for abundance. Opportunity is also a word that's aligned with Jupiter. And so wherever you have Taurus in your chart, this is where that sacred self is now really going to be invited to take on form. And Jupiter is going to go through this year journey in Taurus, and it's going to help us to expand in the ways that are aligning with what our soul is here to do. This is happening just after eclipse season. This is happening as we've just shed an incredible amount of layers with a Scorpio eclipse. So this is really about helping us to take on new form. Jupiter's still in a new cycle. There's a lot of birthing new energy. There's a lot of change, and Jupiter's coming to really help us do that. And what's happening as Jupiter does this? The very way that Jupiter enters Taurus is in a square to Pluto. Who is in retrograde, going back through that first degree of Aquarius before it moves back into Capricorn, to help us break down the Capricorn structures of our own mentalities, of our own lives, and in the collective, so that we can evolve more in humanitarian, justice-making ways of Aquarius. This is what Pluto's doing. And Pluto is squaring Jupiter. They are coming into a conversation in our own psyche and in the collective about the ways that we need to break down anything about, that shift of the area where we shift from Capricorn into Aquarius, how power is used for the collective. What have we been taught about power? What have we been taught about things like money that actually aren't in the benefit of the evolution of our species, in the evolution of the collective? These are questions that Jupiter is being infused with as it enters Taurus, as it begins its journey. These are questions that we are being infused with as Jupiter begins this. So, the way that I would really frame Jupiter entering Taurus is helping us to embody new visions of wealth for ourselves and for others. Visions of wealth that are rooted in the new version of selfhood that we've been birthing. A version of selfhood that now absolutely wants to take shape, absolutely wants to have some fun and live in a way that is embodying earth consciousness, which means it's not about simply making profit for profit's sake, which means it's about being in tune with the rhythms of the ecosystems. As I'm talking to you, I'm hearing so many early morning birds chatting, right? What happens when we come into our body? And then Jupiter can expand that wisdom for us. And body consciousness is incredible. We are not taught to live with it in this culture society. We are taught to live in our mind. We are actually taught to dissociate from our body. We're taught to perform in a work world that doesn't really suit our body. It definitely doesn't suit the emotional intelligence that our body holds. And we are not taught to access the wisdom that lives in our body. And Jupiter coming through Taurus can help us access body wisdom, earth wisdom. This can also be a deep remembering of our rootedness to the ecosystems that we are a part of, the earth wisdom that comes up through that rootedness. It's a very rich and fertile time. And that energy goes into our life. That goes into the business that we're building. That goes into the book that we're writing. Even if it's not seeming related, there's wisdom there that goes into it. And that's what creates the abundance, because we are so fully rooted in this earth consciousness that we can be one with it, and we can bring that into our daily living, and we can bring that into our communities and into the greater collective. And that's part of what Pluto is really helping Jupiter to help us access. Okay. So there's our Jupiter in Taurus introduction. Now I'm going to go briefly through the houses so that we can kind of just name the key elements of how this might be coming up for you. So if you have 0 degrees of Taurus in your first house, all that I was just talking about that kind of earth consciousness, that embodied wisdom, the wealth of wisdom and presence and self-sufficiency that comes from Taurus wisdom, Jupiter is expanding that in your identity. So who you are, how you move through the world, how people see you, how you want to be seen. Welcome strength, welcome earth consciousness. It is expanding, and that wants to root into who you are. Who you are is getting an upgrade, we could say, of this deeply embodied earth consciousness, a confidence in your self-value. Absolutely. Jupiter can help you really increase your confidence of self-value that comes not from some distorted ego, but that comes from feeling so rooted and at home in your life, because you are rooted. Your identity is rooted in Taurus. Okay. If you have 0 degrees of Taurus in your second house, or if Taurus then moves into your second house and Jupiter is going to move through your second house, this is about your resources. So this is Taurus energy in its home. This is, how is that rootedness into earth consciousness, your body? How is that something to really expand the foundations of your life? Okay, so here, absolutely, income and money could come up. How can you expand that by really grounding in to what earth wisdom and your body are telling you need right now? The sacred self that you've been birthing, how does it want to take form so that that form becomes a resource that you can start building the rest of your life on, or the next chapter of your life on? There's a lot of, You could really work with images of abundance, creative visualizations of abundance, just of being one of the species of the earth, wherever you live, whether you're in city or rural, it doesn't matter. Just really bringing in the images of how you are rooted, because that abundance is there for you to build the foundations of your life on. Also, how have your values changed? You really want to be clear about what your values are now, okay? Pluto is talking to your values in this square, if it's at the if you have 0 degrees at the second house. So what values were you born with? How has family, society put values on you that maybe weren't yours? How has, and what have you gone through in your own revolution of your values? And how are those the values that you want to lead with? How can you embody those values over this next year? You're going to get a lot of support to do that. Moving into the 3rd house. So 3rd house, communication, community, okay? So how can you embody this wealth of wisdom in the way that you communicate, in the way that you enter into community? How can the self that you've been birthing take on form through the way that you express yourself? If communication is at all part of your work, this is it's an upgrade, okay? Really thinking about your values. You're here right now to communicate your values in new ways that are part, there's kind of a beautiful abundance of your communication right now that can just be channeling and tapping into that earth consciousness and putting it out into however you communicate, whether that is words or whether that is through dance and the body or whatever it is that you do. You can be really bringing your values in a new way to communication and community, and that can be giving you great abundance over this next year. 4th house. So if you have Taurus in your 4th house, 0 degrees is in your 4th house, or if Jupiter's then going to come into your 4th house. So literal home, family, your psyche, the way that you are at home in your psyche, ancestry. This is the way that you are rooted in this life is what the 4th house is all about. And so there's potential for you to really get some beautiful blessings to your rootedness during this next year. The way that your sense of self in this, whatever you've been working on, whatever you've been shedding, you shed enough so that you can root into your life through your family, whether that is humans or whether that is animals and yourself and your spiritual ancestry, whatever family means to you. It can mean a lot of things. And going deeper into your own psyche, into your own sense of self. You have Taurus in the 4th house. This is where you really feel at home in your sense of self. And there's a rootedness that can happen. And through that rootedness, new opportunities can occur, okay? There can be the word blessings just keeps coming up if you're having this transit through your 4th house. And so you can really work with the opportunities to see how being grounded in your home life allows you to accomplish whatever it is that you're yearning to accomplish over this next year. 5th house. If you have 0 degrees of Taurus in your 5th house, or then Jupiter's going to move through your 5th house, this is your creative self-actualization. This is how you creatively shine out in this world. And so, this is really that sacred self has been birthing over the past while, come up out of the eclipses, and now it can take form in your creative projects, in your creative self-actualization. It's also the house of romance, and it's also the house of children. The reason it's those as well is because it's about this kind of very playful, creative energy, however that manifests for you. And so, especially if there is some creative project that you have been working on or you've wanted to work on, Jupiter can come and really support you in expanding that. So you could really ask with that. Or if there's something that's always been in the back and you've really wanted to kind of bring it into form, whatever that is for you, this could be a year to really invite creating that, because Jupiter is coming through and it's giving this expansive quality to your 5th house. It's very joyful energy that you can work with. 6th house. So this is your daily living, connection of mind and body. So Taurus in the 6th house is very rooted energy. That the mind-body connection is very important. The body's very, very important if you have Taurus in the 6th house. And so with this transit, you know, your daily way of living could be getting an overhaul. You could really be inviting kind of the idea of abundance, this new idea of wealth, whatever that means for you in your daily life. What does that look like? What do you want that to look like? You could sit and imagine that. How does this kind of self that's been breaking through for you, how can it manifest in ways that are just bringing pockets of joy and richness to your daily life? And this is some of what this transit could be working with for you. 7th house. If you have Taurus in your 7th house and Jupiter's coming into your 7th house, relationships, one-on-one relationships. Somehow your one-on-one relationships, and this is, yes, if you have a long-term committed partner, if you're just starting to see someone, it's that person. If you're in polyamorous relationships, it's those one-on-one aspects of relationship, but it's also all one-on-one relationships. So do you have clients? Do you have colleagues? Do you have teachers or students? Anyone that a therapist, anyone that you gauge in a one-on-one relationship with, they are a source to this year's shifts of growth and abundance for you. A lot of growth is most likely going to come out of your one-on-one relationships. That might be, you know, in that conversational setting, in that relational setting. There's something that can really nourish the body, and from there you can expand. Okay, however that manifests, but there's almost a sacredness to one-on-one relationships for you this year. So really to lean into that. And also knowing that because Jupiter expands, if there's one-on-one relationships that are very tension-filled, or Jupiter could expand that as well, as giving you a signal that maybe this is a relationship that needs to change, okay? 8th house. If you have Taurus in your 8th house and Jupiter's coming into your 8th house, this is the house of deep merging. This is the house of shared resources. This is the house of different qualities of our internal waters of psychology, and you have Taurus here. So Jupiter coming into this house, firstly, the people that you're in deep intimate relationship with, whatever intimacy means to you, those relationships are going to have new life breathed into them. There's going to be expansion within them. This could be really joyful energy. This could also, if those relationships are already a bit intense, Jupiter could expand that, which could signal to you that you need to make shifts or change or have new boundaries there. Your relationship with the earth and earth consciousness during this Jupiter transit absolutely could just, it could broaden, it could offer you new insights of what it means to be living where you're living, connected to earth, the way that wisdom can come into your life. Absolutely, this is shared resources, which includes finances. There could be expansion there that could happen through just luck, that could happen through inheritance, who knows? But it's the 8th house itself is really about your transformation. So you are transforming this year. And that's what the core energy is about. How are your values transforming? And that's happening most likely in deep intimacy. This is also the house where if you are interested in the occult, or you're interested in astrology or tarot or any of these modalities that we pass through the veil with, you could study or you could teach these. This could be shifts in that, because that energy is absolutely here. 9th house. If you have Taurus in the 9th house and Jupiter is coming into your 9th house, Jupiter is at home in the 9th house. So Jupiter is very, very comfortable and happy expanding in the 9th house. Absolutely. You know, this is the house of higher education. It's the house of exploring and the curiosity of the big questions. Why are we here? What is astrology all about? What's philosophy all about? It's also the house of travel, through the idea that by traveling, we gain more insight and understanding of the world and our own place within it. So you're getting an expansion to your place within the world. Your worldview is expanding. You could teach, you could start studying. If either of those are interesting to you, Jupiter coming through is the energy to do that with. You absolutely, if you want to write and publish, or those things are interesting to you, Jupiter is absolutely expanding that with you. But it's also opening the way that you can just kind of intuit earth consciousness and really have quite a bit of wisdom coming in. This could be a year in which your wisdom increases, and you just gain abundance through that, and then that trickles out and ripples into your life. If you have Taurus in the 10th house, so house traditionally of career, work in the world, vocation in the world, where we're seen in the world, Taurus is there, and Jupiter is coming through, and you are most likely going to have the roles that you have in the world, the way that you are seen is going to expand, okay? Buckle up a little bit and get excited about it. It could actually be quite a bit of expansion, you know. If there's been parts in your work life that you've been curious about or wanting to explore, this could be a great time to explore them, because Jupiter is there bringing this expansive wealth there. You could also see the ways that you might connect to work differently. There might be more of a rootedness that comes through, a rudeness that's kind of rooting you down, but then expanding you outwards at the same time. That could be part of this Taurus Jupiter transit for you, but definitely expansion in also just how you're seen, what your role is in the world. This can be big or this can be small. It's not, we really don't want to apply any kind of normative understandings of success and career to the 10th house. It's about your vocation in the world. So it doesn't even matter. Some people don't even get paid for that vocation, right? But it's about your vocation, and that is getting expanded. And if you get paid for it, that could be going to a next level too. 11th house. So if you are experiencing this transit in the 11th house, that sacred self is taking on a new role in the networked world that you are part of. Your networks are most likely going to expand. You're going to have a bigger role in the world. You might intuit some earth consciousness about what you're here to do. You might have even memories stream up through your body to show you why you're here. This is about a new role if you have the 11th house. It's also going to be aligned with your own dreams and your own visions, and they might expand during this next year. They might be surprises about that expansion. It might be something that you hadn't even thought, but whatever that expansion means, and you're in a place in your life now where you're ready to expand in your role through being connected, okay? 12th house. If you have this transit going through the 12th house, Taurus in the 12th house, definitely an expansion of your sacred earth spirituality. Definitely an expansion of your soul's rootedness to spirituality in this life, okay? You are here to have an incredible amount of earth wisdom access to you in the body. This is a particular placement with Taurus in the 12th house, because in the 12th house, part of the essence of the archetype is that our ego actually dissolves into spirit, into the divine mystery, into the language that we use, the collective unconscious. And when you have Taurus here, on the one hand, that is nature. Nature might be very important for you in this year. You may want to spend more time in nature because you may get more intuited messages. That may be part of the wealth coming to you. The 12th house can definitely be a house in which we experience isolation. If you have a lot of planets or placements in the 12th house, being in nature could really be a way of finding belonging. And Jupiter is going to expand that belonging. It's going to expand the earthy, sensual spirituality that comes through the body and speaks to us through nature. And this also, you know, with Jupiter going through, it really depends on the placements that you have on the 12th house. The 12th house, very particular. If you have placements there and Jupiter's going over them, you could share this wisdom with the world. Sometimes our 12th house placements are also meant to be teachers in the world, and Jupiter is our teacher. So that could come up for you, but absolutely simultaneously a depth of spiritual expansion that's also going up and out. And that is our journey through the zodiac of this transit. And I will sign off now. Take